us now with her stock picks for 2022. Bhansali, Chief Investment Officer and Portfolio Manager of Ariel's Global Equity Strategies. Great to see you, Rupal, as always. I'm interested, before we get to the stock picks, on your big picture take that even after the most recent pullback, that you still think people are way over-invested in the US.
Yes, unfortunately, after the party comes a hangover. And the US investors have been having a party for almost a decade plus. And I think the opportunity is now more internationally than in the US. Valuations are extremely high. And typically, when you have such a high watermark as multiples derate, you find that you can experience a lost decade when it comes to capital appreciation. So the playbook for the next decade has to be different than the one for the last one.
And in terms of the companies that you're picking, is there a common theme, or is it very much stock-specific and country-specific, or are you finding lots of opportunities within a sort of broader group?
We are definitely bottoms-up investors, high-conviction contrarian investors. But often, as a contrarian, we are looking where nobody else is, or at least, trying to run away from. And the two biggest opportunities happen to be in the markets that have already experienced very large corrections, one of which is Latin America. Both the stock market and the currencies have corrected a lot. And the other market is China, because they had a very big sell-off in the middle of last year. So I tend to look where nobody else is, or at least, afraid of looking. And that's when the biggest and best opportunities present themselves.
What's changed in China that makes Baidu something you can invest in when that regulatory crackdown last year took so many companies and investors by surprise, China going after its own internet giants?
Well, I think here's the distinction, and you make a very important point. The only stock amongst that internet group that I like and I would own is Baidu. And the difference between all the other internet stocks is they predominantly are B2C consumer models. Think of them as the FANG of China, and most of the FANG stocks in the US are B2C consumer models. But you can make a lot of money in B2B business models. Microsoft is an example of that. Initially, Microsoft stock didn't participate in the rally because people didn't appreciate that even B2B can be a very interesting opportunity. And Baidu is pivoting from its B2C business model, which is predominantly search engine, to B2B business model, which is focused on application of AI, autonomous driving, coming up with, AI in the big data centers that they are running, move to the cloud. And all of these initiatives, tend to take longer. But once they take hold, they tend to have extremely sticky revenues and a long runway. So I would say that it's time to reconsider. The crackdown in China is on B2C business models. And if you can look elsewhere, which is B2B, that might just be the opportunity.
Tell us about BB Seguridad.
Another one of the themes, and I'm not a thematic investor, but there is a common theme across the other stock picks in Latin America. I do believe, whenever you have a lost decade, you actually still need to compound your capital, and you can't afford to just lose money in the markets. You obviously want to stay invested. And I think dividend yielding stocks can play a very big role in bridging the difference of capital depreciation vis-a-vis, capital preservation. And BB Seguridad, which is a bancassurer in Brazil, sporting a 60% ROE in a normalized sense. So it's an extremely asset-light, high ROE lucrative business, which has sold off because of all the election uncertainty, amongst other reasons. And you can buy it for a song, in my opinion, at about 10 times earnings and a dividend yield projected in 2022 for about 8%. These are the kinds of, franchise quality companies at bargain basement levels that you simply can't find in the US.